We're going to take things over to China, as there have been this ongoing struggle right now between, there was a pretty respectful, good relationship between President Trump and Xi Jinping for a very long time. Obviously, COVID threw a big wrench in a lot of that. However, then you have tariffs, and then you have, hey, we're going to stop funding the universities and allowing new international students to come in. That has thrown their relationship into a bit of a chaotic moment, depending on how you want to look at it politically.
That's right. And what's expected this week is a call between President Trump and Xi Jinping in China. And it's about the trade issue, about the tariffs issue, to try and reset where the United States and China are in that relationship. We know that was worked out in Geneva with the Treasury Secretary and his Chinese counterparts just over about a month ago, I believe, where they were able to kind of lay out a framework. And that was actually a big surprise because people didn't expect really anything to come out of that meeting other than just, we agree that we will talk again. But they did make some moves in the right direction. But Harry, now we've seen both sides kind of finger pointing about some violations of their agreement. The United States calling out China on some things, and then the United States canceling the visas for every member of a university here that is Chinese. But now we have this phone call. What do you think can happen or will maybe happen with this now high-level talk between the premier in China and the president of the United States?
Well, I think a number of things are likely to happen. First, it's important to look at what is actually happening on the ground with respect to imports. So the South China News reports that Chinese exporters are absorbing up to 65% of the tariffs imposed by the United States. And the question becomes, what does this mean to U.S. consumers? Well, it means U.S. consumers are escaping most of the inflationary pressure that might otherwise come from U.S. tariffs, but it also means that Chinese exporters are being squeezed, if you will, economically. So that provides an incentive, I think, for the Chinese to complete these negotiations with the United States. The second point, which is equally important, is consistent with the fact that China is absorbing the tariff, and that is U.S. prices are flat or coming down. So U.S. inflation is at the lowest level since, I believe, February or April of 2021. So that is absolutely huge news. So I think at the end of the day, the evidence is suggesting that the U.S. is winning the trade war, if you will, with China, which provides an incentive for the Chinese to negotiate. Clearly, they are being stubborn with respect to mineral exports, particularly to India and Europe. What does that do? It means that the U.S. supply chain has been affected with respect to so-called critical minerals as well. So at the end of the day, I expect there will be bumps in the road, but I think we will proceed to an agreement unless, of course, U.S. courts intervene again.
Well, and Professor Hutchison, what's kind of crazy to me is you look at the media that have been saying the tariff war is going to tank the economy. They found every economist at Yale and Harvard and University of Chicago that is just shocked it's going to ruin the economy and set this fear among the American people. And in reality, and I'm not seeing the headlines everywhere across America that this is happening, but the numbers came out over the weekend that the trade deficit of the U.S. has been cut almost in half. It's down 46% from $162 billion in March to $87 billion in April. So the trade deficit cut in half, as well, because of the trade deficit going in, being cut in half, the second quarter GDP grew. So all of the economists that were saying this is going to completely kill the economy, and you've seen the stock market going crazy, in reality, the things that President Trump said he was wanting to happen seem, at least in the short run, to be happening. And instead of that meaning the economy's bad, he's going to chicken out, as they say, on tariffs, I think this economic data gives him a much stronger negotiating standpoint with China, saying, look, our economy's doing better without all of this trade.
Absolutely. And it's important to look back to Trump's first term in office. How did tariffs work out for the U.S. economy back then? Low inflation and economic growth. And to the extent that inflation remains low, with core inflation falling, what will likely happen to mortgage interest rates? Mortgage interest rates will likely come down because I think at some point...
You can only hope at this point.
Yes, the Federal Reserve will have to cut interest rates. Right now, the average 30-year mortgage is still around 6.9%. So that is much too high in light of core inflation, which is going at a rate of 1.2% on an annual basis. And so I think the Federal Reserve has been very, very slow in actually looking at the economic data. And, Will, I think you're perfectly correct in terms of how many economists have come up with all of these conclusions about Trump tanking the economy. But it's important to keep in mind one of the first lessons I learned going to economics school, which is if you laid all of the economists in the world end to end, you would not reach a conclusion.
We are so excited to announce the ACLJ's brand new app, completely redesigned to provide you with the best tools available to partner with us at the ACLJ. You can watch the daily Seculo program, sign the petitions, customize your ACLJ membership experience, donate with the click of a button, and receive up-to-the-minute critical updates that the mainstream media can't censor. Just scan the QR code on your screen or go to your phone's app store, search ACLJ, and click install. It's that simple.